Hello there, I'm a nerd named Ryan. You know, I think we all have those movies where you can kind of just throw them on, whatever mood you're in, and cheer yourself up. You know, real comfort movies. Movies that aren't necessarily good, but movies that you can watch over and over and over again without getting bored. Movies that kind of make you happy. I have a few comfort movies, but the main one for me is, it's this. Lara Croft, Tomb Raider. I'm aware this is the double pack with Cradle of Life in it as well, and I like Cradle of Life as well. But today we're talking about the first movie, Lara Croft, Tomb Raider. So yeah, I love the original Tomb Raider movie from 2001. Now, listen, I'm not under any kind of impression that it's some great movie, that it's some misunderstood masterpiece of cinema. No, it's a dumb action adventure movie. But, you know, it's a lot of fun. I get a real kick out of watching this movie over and over and over again. I really do enjoy it for a number of reasons. The main reason I love this film is because of, well, Angelina Jolie. As far as I'm concerned, this is perfect casting for Lara Croft. You could not have picked a better actor to play Lara Croft. Angelina Jolie is really good. First off, she looks the part. She looks a lot like, you know, the original design of Lara Croft in the Tomb Raider games. She looks like what you would imagine a live-action Lara Croft to look like. Secondly, she's got the accent down. She can do a really good English accent, I think. She is really good in this movie. Sometimes I forget when I'm watching this movie that Angelina Jolie is American, because I think her accent is really, really good in the film. But the main reason I love her in this movie is because she's clearly having such fun playing Lara Croft. She really is kind of... You can tell that she just loves every second of screen time, and the character of Lara Croft is just enjoying every part of this wacky and wild adventure that she's on. And that makes the film much more joyous to watch. You know, to know that both the character and the actor are very clearly having a lot of fun really, really helps. Also, the other thing that's great about Angelina Jolie is that she did pretty much all of her own stunts in this movie. You know, she did a lot of weapons training and sort of fight training and stuff like that. Got really, like, in shape for the movie. And, yeah, a lot of the stunts, she did herself. And that really, really, you know, helps the movie a lot. A lot of practical effects, a lot of practical stunt work, and to know that Angelina Jolie kind of did as much of that as she could herself really just makes the performance all the better for me, because she's doing not only the dramatic bits, but also the physical bits and the kind of the fun action sequences as well. Now, there are problems with the film. I'm not going to pretend like there aren't. The story is a little bit weird, a little bit silly. I'm sure I could probably, you know, if I really sat down and thought about this movie while I watched it, I could probably pick like loads and loads of holes in the story. I could probably find plot holes and plot conveniences and, you know, all kinds of just silly things about the story. But I don't care, because it's not really about that. It's sort of just supposed to be a bit silly and supposed to be a bit wacky and supposed to be a bit daft. It kind of knows that it's a bit ridiculous. And it just kind of embraces that silliness. This is directed by Simon West, who also directed the movie Con Air. And while it's very different to Con Air in a lot of ways, there is, I think, one key way in which it's very similar to Con Air, and that is that it sort of takes itself just seriously enough. Like, it understands that it's wacky and crazy, and it sort of embraces the wackiness and the ridiculousness of the story, but at the same time it never goes too far. It never goes too over the top, too ridiculous, too silly, in my opinion. So yeah, that's what I love about this first movie. That's actually what I like less about the second film. I think the second film does sometimes go a little bit too wacky and a little bit too crazy, in my opinion. Still like that film a lot, though. The action in this movie is great. They use a lot of practical effects and practical sets and location shooting and practical stunt work. Again, Angelina Jolie did most of her own stunts herself. And I think that really, really helps the movie. It really makes the movie feel a little bit more real. You know, it adds an extra layer to the film. There are elements of CGI in the film for things that they couldn't do practically. You know, there's other sort of giant creatures that they sort of can't do with practical effects, so they use CGI for that, and that is a little bit dated because it's from 2001, the movie, because the movie's from 2001, so yeah, those bits are a little bit dated, but again, it doesn't really matter. I think it just adds to the kind of the charm of it, you know, these sort of very kind of old, outdated very outdated special effects The film is very much a product of its time. It doesn't really have a timeless quality. It's very much of the early 2000s. This is especially true with the soundtrack. A lot of kind of early 2000s dance and like electro music, sort of and electronic music sort of thrown into the soundtrack. It's a very late 90s, early 2000s soundtrack. So, yeah, that does date the movie a little bit. But again, I think it just adds to the charm of the film, for me at least. Really, really does. As mentioned, Angelina Jolie is great in the film. Most of the cast are pretty good. Jon Voight is playing Lara Croft's father, which of course makes a lot of sense because Jon Voight is Angelina Jolie's real-life father, so that was a nice little touch there. Daniel Craig is in this, a pre-James Bond Daniel Craig doing an American accent that... Oh, bless him, he's not quite perfected the American accent at this point in his career, but bless him, he's trying. And, you know what, I will say this, people have kind of mocked his American accent in this, but I'll say this, Daniel Craig and Angelina Jolie have really, really good on-screen chemistry in this movie. I think those two work really, really well together. Their scenes are usually pretty entertaining when they have like some banter back and forth. But yeah, like I say, Daniel Craig and Angelina Jolie, really good together in this movie. They have really good chemistry. Again, Daniel Craig's accent isn't the best, but I don't think it takes away from the film. And yeah, I like him with Angelina Jolie. They're good in this movie together. Something else that's really nice, again, tying back into kind of the practical effects and the stunt work, there's a lot of really impressive practical set design and location shooting in this movie. They go to actual locations and shoot there, and some of the cinematography in those kind of wide shots showing the different locations are really, really cool. They go to, actual temples to film, and there's a bit where they film with Buddhist monks in a Buddhist temple. I believe those are real Buddhist monks that they film with, so that all just adds like another element, just another layer to the film, another kind of layer of realism. And then, for the sort of the inside of the tombs, they built massive sets, massive kind of practical sets, on sound stages and filmed on those. And all the bits that move in the film really do move. There's that swinging column in the film, and that is really swinging. And Angelina Jolie is really on it because, again, she did all of her own stunts. Same thing with the I forget what it's called, but that thing with all the different planets spinning at the end, spinning towards the end of the film. That's all practical. That's all done for real. There's a few nice little nods to the video game as well. But it works perfectly as a standalone film. So if you haven't played any of the Lara Croft games, it still makes sense as a film. But if you have played the Lara Croft games, particularly the early Tomb Raider games, the like PS1 era ones, there's a few little Easter eggs that you might recognise in here, which is really, really cool. Also, Chris Barry is in the film, and it's always cool seeing Chris Barry. He's my favourite actor from Red Dwarf, and he's really, really good in this movie. There's a bit where Lara's home is under attack, and she's fighting off all the baddies and everything. And Chris Barry, who's playing the butler, just like gets up and gets like a massive like shotgun and just starts strolling around in his pajamas shooting people. It's really, really, again, it's really goofy and it's really wacky and it's a really silly, over the top, ridiculous movie. But man, I love it. And I've seen this movie so many times, and it always just puts a massive smile on my face. So yeah, Lara Croft Tomb Raider is basically my ultimate comfort movie. So yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on the original Tomb Raider movie in the comments if you fancy it. Thanks so much for stopping by, and I'll see you when I see you. Bye.